Good morning, everyone. It's Penny from FCSS, live on Facebook for my very first Caregiver Café. I will just chat a bit and see if we have any visitors. It's a beautiful day here. The sun is shining. I feel pretty good to be able to listen to the birds chirp and drink my coffee while working. So hopefully we'll have some people pop in. Today I want to talk a little bit about the good enough parent. So these parent cafes or caregiver cafes are something new that FCSS is trying, and hopefully when the day comes that we can get together in person, we'll be able to continue doing it in a bit more interactive of a fashion. Facebook can reach people, however the interaction is a bit limited. So if you do have any questions or comments, I'll invite you to share them in the comment section. Yeah. So it looks like it's still just me. So I'm just going to start. If and when you pop on, you miss anything important, you can always go back and watch the video on the Facebook page. So, yeah. And as always, if you have any comments or suggestions for improvement, if you'd like to see this offered, if you want me to offer it through a virtual platform that allows video, we can certainly do that as well. So any comments are welcome. I'm always looking to improve. This is new for me and for most of us. So yeah. So the concept of a good enough parent was a gift that I was given when I was a new mom and attending a stay and play program. And the parent and family coach really helped me to understand that driving myself to distraction about doing everything right wasn't really beneficial for anybody. And she offered me this beautiful gift of the good enough parent. And when she said those words to me, it was like kind of a big weight off my shoulders. And then when she explained to me what that actually means, which, can mean different things to different people, it started to make some good sense to me. So the other day I was on the internet and I found this poem and it struck a chord. So that's how I'm going to start. I'm going to read you this poem. It's called Be a Good Mom, They Said, and it's by Rachel Ramis. Don't bottle feed, only breastfeed, but not in public. Cover up. And not too long, only until they turn 1. Don't co-sleep. Don't let them cry it out. Have your baby be independent. Leave them for a you weekend. Make sure your baby takes a bottle so you can leave them. Don't let your baby have that bottle anymore. Be a good mom, they said. Let your baby know it's loved. Don't hold your baby too much. Sleep when the baby sleeps, but have a clean house and laundry done. Don't yell at your kids. Teach them discipline. Don't spoil your kids. Give them the opportunities you didn't have. Don't over-vaccinate. It can cause autism. Get your kids vaccinated. Why aren't you pregnant yet? When are you trying for baby number 2? Don't have a C-section. Give birth naturally, unless it's an emergency, then have a C-section. Volunteer for every school activity. Don't wear your pajamas to school drop-off. Be a good mom, they said. Lose the baby weight. Weigh enough to keep milk supply. Is your baby sleeping through the night? Why isn't your baby sleeping through the night? Save for college. Throw them the best, most expensive birthday party ever. Just relax. Don't drink alcohol if you're breastfeeding. Don't feed your baby formula. Make sure your baby weighs enough. Be a good mom, they said. No screen time. Well, maybe some screen time, but not too much. Back is best, unless they have digestive issues. Only feed organic food. Don't work, stay at home. Do work, but not too much. Be friends with your kids so they trust you. Don't be friends with your kids or they won't respect you. Be a good mom, they said. Drive your kid to school, guitar lessons, social activities, soccer game, tutor time. Make alone time for just you and each child. Also for your spouse, also for yourself. Clean the house, cook the dinner, be independent, work for you, be social, volunteer. Remember that dentist appointment? Pay that tuition bill, read them 3 books before bed. Do it all with a smile. Be a good mom, they said. So reading that makes me exhausted. And that's the world we live in, right? Everywhere we look, people have opinions about what a good parent looks like. And even though that poem was written to mums, it's not just mums, it's fathers, it's grandparents, it's anybody who's caring for children. We're bombarded with these ideas about what we have to be and what that looks like. And the truth is that looks different depending on who you are and what you value and where you are and the things that you think are important. So, yeah, I'd invite you to take a minute to think about those words and what that brings up for you. And, yeah, if anyone comes on, maybe they can comment. Yeah. So the other thing that brought this topic to mind to me was an interview I saw with Professor Matt Sanders. So he's the founder of the Triple P Positive Parenting Program, and he's also a professor of clinical psychology at the University of Queensland in Australia. And he was talking about the idea that criticizing and judging parents and shaming parents is counterproductive. That we need to shift the focus to, oh, hi, someone's here. Nice to see you. So we're just talking about good enough parenting. And I was talking about how shame and blame don't help anyone. So shifting focus to what strengths parents have, what they can do, and also what skills they need to work on. And when we focus on skill building, that takes away the judgment of good or bad parenting, and it turns it into a learning experience. And caregivers can feel supported and encouraged instead of shamed. Pardon me. And they also gain confidence. So when we look at building skills, when we feel more confident in our skills, we can then come up with our own solutions that fit our unique family circumstances. And that creates a cycle. We feel confident, we come up with solutions, those solutions work, we feel more confident. So yeah, empowering parents and helping them understand that it's not perfection. So this is the key for today, is understanding that good enough is good enough. So what does that mean? To be a good enough parent? Well, it probably means a lot of different things to different people. One idea today I'd like to talk about is letting go of perfection. Yeah. So let's just sit with that for a second. The idea that perfection is actually out of our grasp. It's unattainable. So when we have these high standards of perfectionism, that can be problematic in several ways. So one of the ways it can be a struggle for us is we feel that about ourselves. So we set standards for ourselves that are impossible to achieve, and then we transfer those expectations onto our loved ones. And one of the keys of sound, positive parenting is realistic expectations, both of ourselves and of our children. So perfectionism can really muddy those waters. And it can also lead to a lot of frustrations and focusing on negatives instead of positives. Yeah. So another belief in perfection that can be problematic. So when we believe that there is a perfect, when things aren't perfect, which is always, we look to blame someone, usually ourselves or our partners or our children. That the idea is that, well, this should be right and it's not right, so someone's to blame for that. So trying to accept the idea that things are going to go wrong, right? There will be problems. That's life. Problems in relationships, problems in parenting, and that's okay. And again, shifting to the positive. So moving away from blame and shame and into the idea that mistakes are inevitable and actually helpful. Yeah. So anybody have anything they want to share? Any comments or thoughts? The one person who's watching, I'd love to hear from you if you're comfortable with that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about problem solving. So when we let go of perfection, when we embrace good enough caregiving, it gives us some space to look at things from different perspectives. So it gives us an opportunity to go beyond the blame to trying to figure out, being a bit of a detective about what's going on behind the behaviors. And trying to think about they're having a hard time as opposed to they're giving me a hard time. So when we accept that we're not perfect, we can accept that others are not perfect and that there's a reason why they act the way they do. And then we can kind of be like a detective to figure out what's going on. And when we accept that problems are going to arise, we don't get bogged down in the whole, I'm a bad parent, my partner is too strict, my child is unmanageable, which creates a whole negative cycle. We can say, they're having a hard time with this. So where can we look at skills? Where can we look at emotions? How can we work this out? So is that making sense? Yeah. And by no means is this easy, right? I mean, to accept that there isn't an ideal to strive for. And it's difficult, but it's also wonderful because there's so many different ways to be a good parent, to be a good enough parent. And you have strengths, right? There's areas where you are very strong, and there's maybe areas where you want to work a little bit. Yeah, so it's hopeful. Yeah. So let's talk about some tools then. So sometimes we need some practical ideas or tools that we can have when we're trying to work through the idea of perfect and looking at being the detective. So one thing is thinking and remembering our own childhood. So as adults, we can forget that sort of raw and crucial feelings that we had as children, that yes, it really is the end of the world that you cut my toast into a rectangle and not a triangle. And maybe you won't be able to remember back to when you were 2 or 3, but remembering your own childhood and your own struggles and how you felt about things that felt unfair or huge to you. And that, of course, helps with empathy, right? When we can take a moment to try that. And then what you want to do is, because you are the adult, right? Your child needs to understand that those feelings are valid, and yet behaviors aren't always acceptable. So what you want to do is try to then integrate those feelings you remember with the adult perspective you have now. So your perspective of you now as the adult and you then as the child. And because young children aren't capable of understanding another point of view, it's our responsibility to show them how to look at both sides and combine the perspectives and try to come up with solutions together. Yeah. So striving to respond from a position of empathy and understanding instead of blame. All right, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, this is a good one. Providing help to children that they need or want, but no more. So one of my favorite things to talk about is resiliency, and I think that it is a crucial skill. I think it is one of the things that is the cornerstone for healthy functioning in life. And this kind of revolves a little bit around that. So we want to help our children, obviously, when they need it, and we want to allow them the freedom to take reasonable risks and to make mistakes. So letting them do for themselves when they can, and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, it helps them grow into maturity. And some things have to be learned that way. And they need our support sometimes in their efforts without us taking over. So finding that line between being there and letting them struggle. And going back to the idea of perfection, sometimes when we are looking for perfection, this little tool is hard, because it's hard to watch your child struggle. It's hard to make a mess. It's hard to see them get frustrated. And if we're doing something with them, for example, and it matters to us the outcome, craft for grandma for Christmas, we can let that idea of perfection override the learning and the connecting time around the activity. So try to, find the balance for you and your children between help and backing off and letting them do it for themselves. Yeah. Any comments or thoughts on that? All right. So lastly, I think I'm going to have to wrap up here. Good enough parenting, good enough caregiving involves giving yourself a break. Be kind to yourself. Radical self-compassion. Recognizing that parenting is often a learn as you go. It is trial and error. It's reaching out for support when you need it. It's believing in yourself. I would encourage you every day to focus on at least one thing you did that you're proud of. No matter how small it might be. Maybe you kept your cool when you normally wouldn't. Maybe you played rough and tumble play when you normally don't. Maybe you played Barbies for the millionth time. Barbies. Admit your mistakes to yourself and forgive yourself. To your children, apologize if needed. Great lessons for them. When you model those things, you're teaching them that to be human is to make mistakes. And we learn and we repair. We say we're sorry when we're sorry, and we move on. We learn something. Yeah. Model what it means to be a normal human who isn't perfect and has bad days. And lastly, you, all of you, are good enough just as you are. So thank you for listening. Again, if you have any questions or comments, ideas for improvement for future sessions, please email me or drop a comment here. As always, the website is a treasure trove of information, www.fcss.ca. A quick reminder of some upcoming things. May 13th at 10:30, I'm going to be joining Tammy Broker from Alberta Health Services for a fabulous presentation on male and female brains and how to co-parent. She's excellent. If you're interested in that, email me or go on the website and I'll send you a link. We're doing some of my colleagues are doing virtual circle times, so look for those Mondays at 10 and Thursdays at 11. Yeah. And keep checking in for what's new and upcoming. All right. Thanks again. Have a great day, everyone.